Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've ever sat in a meeting where a simple talk about a problem, let's say project delay, just instantly devolves into a courtroom drama, then this deep dive is for you.
Oh, absolutely.
We're pulling apart that universal and frankly irritating workplace thing.
Mm-hmm.
The moment fact-finding just stops and the blame game begins.
It happens so reliably, doesn't it? The second a question like, what happened, hits the table, the whole energy changes.
It really does.
The focus immediately shifts from, solving the actual problem, and everyone just goes into this defensive posture, trying to prove, I'm not the one responsible here.
And you, as the manager, you just wanted objective clarity. You just wanted the facts, the status, and, well, the path forward.
Right.
But the more you press for it, the more aggressively people start crafting a story that just removes them from the picture entirely. It's an instant derailment.
And that defensive posturing, it pushes the true root cause so far out of reach. We lose valuable hours just debating who's innocent instead of what needs fixing.
So our mission today is really focused on a very specific skill. How do we interrupt that initial defensive reflex? How do we shift a dialogue away from personal fault finding and back toward genuine problem solving?
Okay, so let's start by unpacking that classic mistake, the one we see all the time in the sources.
Mm-hmm.
The project management or PM delay scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The timeline is off, the schedule's slipping, and you, the leader, you walk in and ask, why is the timeline off and what's the plan to recover?
And the response is almost never a simple summary of, material constraints or whatever. Instead, you just get this immediate download of everyone else's faults.
Exactly.
The PM launches into it, the design unit made late changes, the validation unit wouldn't accept incomplete work, the supplier had issues that were, and this is the key phrase, completely outside of their control.
It's a total smokescreen. You can listen for 3 minutes and still have no idea what the single most critical factor is because every single thing they say is filtered through this heavy lens of self-defense. Yes. They're only reporting what other departments did or said, not what they actually observed.
So what's happening there psychologically?
Well, this is the root of it. When the manager asks what happened, the PM's brain doesn't hear an objective data request. It hears a threat.
It hears, did you mess this up?
Exactly. Is your job on the line? And that immediately flips a switch. It stops being about competence or project variables, and it becomes an issue of psychological safety.
Right. We talk about psychological safety a lot, but this is where it gets real. It becomes a literal survival instinct, a need to avoid being publicly pinned to the wall.
Precisely. And when the brain senses that threat, it enters fight or flight, and the defensive mechanism kicks into this highly predictable 3-step survival sequence. It's like a mental checklist for self-preservation.
Okay, so walk us through those steps. Why is the brain actively avoiding reality here?
Well, step 1 is what you could call plead innocence or plea bargain. The first priority is just to disassociate from the problem. It's not my problem. It belongs to someone else. If they can't do that, they move to step 2. Identify scapegoats. They're mentally scanning the org chart for the safest person or team to blame.
So their brain power is going to office politics, not problem solving.
100%. And that leaves step 3, justify actions. This is the catch-all. If they can't blame someone else, they just justify what they did, often by saying it's normal. Well, I didn't mean to, and besides, everyone does it this way.
So the manager wants facts, what broke, but the subordinate is delivering an argument about responsibility. Who broke it?
That's it. Fact gets replaced by a blame convention.
But wait, I have to ask, if I'm a manager and I don't press for accountability, am I not just being soft? How do you balance that, safety with the very real need for someone to fix the problem?
That's the critical tension, right? But true accountability isn't about punishment. It's about ownership and analysis. The minute you frame it as finding fault in the person, they shut down.
So you shift the focus.
You shift the focus. You put it on the thing, the event, and that's what forces them into root cause analysis. You're not letting them off the hook. You're just changing the angle of attack. So how do we actually do that? How do we operationalize this shift and interrupt that defensive loop in real time?
This is where we have to literally change our opening lines. Instead of demanding a report, you have to signal safety first.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the simple shift in language we found.
Yeah, it's about removing that immediate sense of judgment. So instead of, tell me why you failed, you start with something like, I'm actually not trying to find fault here. Let's just look at this event together. What factors did you observe that caused the delay?
Why is that wording so powerful, though? It seems like such a subtle change.
It works because you're explicitly stating your intention. not judgment. You're pulling their attention away from defending themselves and anchoring it back to the objective facts. You're asking them to be an observer, not a defendant.
Okay, so once the conversation is anchored on the event, we need to push forward. The sources give us two really powerful, action-oriented follow-up questions.
Right. The first one is all about prioritization. It forces the PM to analyze the situation and find the key leverage point. Something like, based on what you're seeing, what is the single most critical obstacle we need to clear right now?
I like that. It forces them back into the commander's seat. They can't just list problems anymore. They have to prioritize the solution.
Precisely. And the second question builds on that. If we want to catch up on the schedule, what are some actions we can attempt, today or this week?
It's the difference between asking, why did you fail, and asking, okay, so how do we win from here? To really feel the impact here, let's run through a couple of scenarios, like a side-by-side comparison from the source material. We'll start with scenario A. The traditional, blame-focused manager. I'll be the demanding manager, you could be the defensive PM.
Okay, sounds good.
In a frustrated tone. Look, why is this plan delayed again? I told you specifically to pay attention to this. Where is the problem, and why should I even trust you with this anymore?
In a stressed tone. Well, it's not me. If you look at the report, we had major supplier delays, totally outside of my control. And then sales decided this wasn't urgent, so my priority got cut by production, and the line capacity is just swamped. It's all external.
Okay, stop. Let's pause there. After that exchange, where are we?
We're nowhere. We're exactly where we didn't want to be. The PM has built a defensive wall. The manager's frustrated, feels like they just got excuses. There's no clear path forward.
And the trust is just gone.
Totally gone. Now, let's try scenario B, the coach style. I'll be the manager this time, you be the PM.
Okay, ready.
In a calm tone. Thanks for the update. I just want to clarify the status since the project is delayed. I'm not looking for fault, just clarity on the event. What critical factors have you observed causing this?
As PM tone shifts. Okay, I appreciate that. Looking at the data, we're really stuck on two things. Late material delivery from supplier X, and our testing schedule keeps getting cut in line by higher priority projects.
That's helpful. If we need to find one key thing to stop the bleeding, which obstacle do we clear first, the material or the testing resource?
As PM. The testing resource, that's the priority. We have enough material to start if we could just get a dedicated time slot. I think the only way to fix that is if I ask for your help coordinating with the testing unit leadership.
Okay, so what resources do you need from me?
Wow, that is a night and day difference. The PM didn't give excuses, they gave a diagnosis and then a really specific request for help.
Exactly. The focus is now entirely on an executable solution coordinating resources, which, and this is crucial, requires the manager's support. The PM keeps ownership, but they clearly signal what they need to break the logjam. It's collaboration. We do have to address a really tricky situation here, though. Sometimes, even with careful questions, the person will just pivot to severe self-blame. We call it the glass heart moment.
Yes. Where they go from deflecting all responsibility to accepting total paralyzing responsibility.
Right. They'll just say, I admit it, it's all my fault, or they just get overwhelmed and kind of shut down.
Which is counterproductive in a whole different way. You still have a problem to fix, but now you also have a person who is just mentally checked out.
Exactly. So if that happens, the manager needs a 3-step recovery process to pull them out of that emotional trap and get them back to focusing on the solution.
So what's step one?
Step 1 is empathize and acknowledge pressure. You have to deal with the emotion first. You might say something like, I sense you feel a lot of pressure because of this delay, and I know you're worried about being blamed. I get that this is frustrating.
So that's the key. Let them feel heard first, so their brain can stop worrying and relax into analytical mode. But how do you stop them from just going back to, it's all my fault?
That brings us to step 2. Focus on process, not people. As soon as they feel safe, you immediately shift their attention from the self to the system. Ask something like, if we set aside the human factor for a moment, you, me, anyone, and just look at the delay itself, what causes are inherent in the process or the workflow?
That's really clever. It stops them from just blaming another person, whether it's themselves or someone else. It forces them to analyze the infrastructure, which is probably where the real problem is anyway.
Absolutely. We need to find systemic weaknesses, not human ones. And then finally, step 3 is to re-empower and seek direction. You have to put the command back in their hands.
Bring them back to that ownership role.
Yes, remind them. Since you are the PM here, you're the commander. Based on these obstacles, what solutions would you attempt first? And what role do you need me to play to support you?
That reframes everything. It reminds them that asking for help upwards isn't failure, it's part of the job.
Mm.
We've covered a lot of ground from the initial psychological trigger to coaching techniques and even handling that extreme self-blame reaction. If you leave this deep dive with just one takeaway, it should probably be that key questioning strategy that kind of puts all this together.
Yeah, let's synthesize it. This is the script you can use in your next high-pressure meeting to pretty much guarantee a solution-focused response.
You start by stating your intention clearly. I am not looking for fault here, but for the cause of the event.
Then you prompt for their observation. What have you observed that led to this?
And finally, you push for ownership and action. What are the current sticking points, and what actions do you want to attempt to resolve this?
That phrasing is especially powerful in, say, cross-department meetings where people are already geared up to point fingers. It just forces everyone to prioritize the common goal, which is solving the problem.
Ultimately, real problem solving isn't about who has the loudest voice or who can yell blame the hardest. It's all about communicating in a way that deliberately creates psychological safety for the people who actually have the facts.
That is the key. Actionable solutions only come out when that defensive mindset is lowered. When someone is scared or feels judged, their brain literally cannot process complex suggestions. You have to get them out of fight or flight first.
So the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. The next time you walk into a meeting to discuss a failure, how will you ask what happened? In a way that ensures the response you get back is collaboration, not just judgment.